a new passenger rail route connecting Detroit, Windsor, and Toronto currently being discussed with possible implementation between 2028 and 2029. And did you know that the West Bloomfield Trail used to be part of the Detroit United Railway, which connected to our local area via the Pontiac Sylvan Lake Interurban Trolley? Very interesting information, and joining me right here live on The Splash to go deeper into that history from Pathways Incorporated, we have historian Brian Golden. Thank you for being here, Mr. Golden.
Pleasure, Kelvin.
We appreciate you bringing your knowledge, your information, and your history with us here today. I want to dive a little bit more into this interurban trolley and Detroit United Railway. Can you just speak on this briefly from the perspective of how the Detroit United Railway and interurban trolley system shaped the growth and development of Metro Detroit communities like West Bloomfield?
Oh, no, that's an easy one for me. You see, back over 100 years ago, there were Native American trails that crisscrossed this entire area. Now, farmers that purchased, or settlers purchased land in these areas, used those Native American trails as a means to get from one place to another. Mm-hmm. Now, those Native American trails kind of grew into roadways. Those roadways were dirt paths. And unfortunately, when you add one component to those dirt paths, mm-hmm. water, you get a muddy mess. So a lot of the roads that existed 200 years ago right. were impassable, especially in the springtime when there was nothing but mud and dirt all over. So somebody came up with a brilliant idea, and that is, why not let's put railroad tracks in or near the road and use some sort of a conveyance that rides those rails, so you're not dependent on the quality of the roads. You couldn't just run the tracks in the roads without gaining some kind of permission. So what municipalities did back then was to issue a franchise to the interurban company. Now, franchises are used today. Guess what? Cable companies. Cable companies use the public right-of-way, and they pay municipalities for the use of that public right-of-way. Well, that concept started way back when the inception of an interurban system started. So there were several people vying to run the interurban line from downtown Detroit all the way to Pontiac. That was critical back then, right? Because Pontiac was not only the county seat, but it was a manufacturing hub. It was also a higher learning institutions were located in Pontiac. So there were several different people vying for the right to be able to run the tracks out Woodward Avenue. Well, there was a father-son combination that got the franchise. They were awarded the franchise. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, other people that were left out. Well, there were two industrious fellows who happened to be brother-in-laws. They wanted to find an alternate route to Pontiac. And what they found was there was already an existing electric railway system that ran out from Grand River all the way to a community that back then was called Sand Hill. Today, that community is called Redford. And so they kind of hooked onto that rail and ran it all the way to downtown Farmington. Now, before it got to downtown Farmington, it branched off. It's called a junction, where when track comes together or splits apart, it's called a junction. There was a junction at Orchard Lake Road and Grand River. Today, there's an old historic building at the foot of Orchard Lake Road.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's known as the winery.
Right.
But what it was the powerhouse for the interurban system.
Okay.
And it produced enough electricity to get the trolley to go up Orchard Lake Road through Farmington Township into West Bloomfield Township.
Nice.
Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, Kego Harbor, and there was an existing system in Sylvan Lake, as you may have already mentioned,
right,
called Sylvan Lake and Pontiac and Sylvan Lake Railway.
Right.
Well,
okay.
That railway system was a means for them to connect to that system that already went into Pontiac. So they had an alt route to Pontiac. They claim that you could actually get to Pontiac faster by going out Grand River to Orchard Lake Road. I'm here to tell you it was about a 70-minute ride on the internet from downtown Detroit. Well, you know, if traffic is as bad as it is in a lot of times in rush hour,
right,
it'll take you
about
an hour.
the same about time. Yeah, I
to
get it.
To get from downtown.
Right,
so
right. So sorry to cut you off. Just go ahead, please.
Right. No, I was going to say this. So this was the opportunity for it to service a totally underserved area, which was West Bloomfield Township.
Right. All right. Okay. Nice. I see how you brought that together. I love that. Gave us a full scope on the railway systems and an interurban trolley, like we just talked about, which is an archaic word at this point. With me right here live on The Splash, historian from Pastways Inc., Brian Golden, talking about the discussions for a new passenger rail route connecting Detroit, Windsor, and Toronto, and West Bloomfield's historical history, I should say, to railways as well, connecting to Detroit. Now, I want to just kind of go over real briefly some of those aspects of the railway. Can you just talk about some of the most fascinating aspects of the West Bloomfield's early railway system that people may not even know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is kind of an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right at, of course, today it's a rails to trails, the heavy rail. It crosses over Orchard Lake Road a couple of times. The old Michigan Airline Railway system, which was part of Grand Trunk.
Mm-hmm.
So on the screen, you see that bridge.
Yes.
Well, that was a bone of contention. Because the interurban company, the track that you see underneath the bridge is heavy rail. It was locomotives and railroad cars. You see the bridge above, and you see the trolley over that bridge. Well, at first, the interurban company wanted to actually run across the heavy rail. And the railroad commissioner at that time said, no way, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
You can't run trolley track and light rail and heavy rail on the same grade.
Right.
You either have to build a tunnel and go underneath, or you have to build a bridge and go over. So the picture that you just put up on the screen is a picture of the bridge that they put in. And unfortunately, putting in that bridge almost broke the bank for the interurban company.
Wow.
that actually did that. Now, there's still evidence of that bridge, and that is the earthen mound. As you're looking at the picture on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a earthen ramp
Mm-hmm.
that elevates the trolley track 20 feet above the heavy rail. Well, today, if you walk that path, the earthen ramp or the high side of the earth is actually still there. That's because Detroit Edison, years later, put a high tension pole right on that hill. So that hill's not going anywhere. It's still there. Now, this bridge was located just south of St. Mary's. So if you walk that path, and many of your viewers, I'm sure, walk the Rails to Trails path, as you get closer and closer to Seminary Street, you will see that the dirt on the right-hand side as you're going north is higher than on the left-hand side of the road. So that evidence is still there. A lot of people don't have a clue.
Right, right, and that's so nice that you gave us that piece of information. Now people who do go around that area, they can actually spot that out and make the connection to history right now. And for our listeners on 89.3 Lakes FM, watch us on CivicCenterTV.com so that you can get the complete aspect and a complete perspective with the visuals that we just provided. And with me right here live on the Splash from Pastways Inc., historian Mr. Brian Golden, once again talking about the new passenger rail route connecting Detroit, Windsor, and Toronto that's being discussed with a possible implementation between 2028 and 2029. With that being said, I just want to ask you about that real quick. How do you see that proposed Detroit, Windsor, Toronto rail line influencing communities in Metro Detroit like Greater West Bloomfield?
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be a tremendous opportunity to get people, goods, and services from the Detroit area into Canada, going through Windsor and finding its terminus all the way in Toronto. It's such a tremendous endeavor, and rail travel is very popular in Europe. It's very popular in the Far East. So I can't help but think how that would impact the Detroit area for both work, services, and goods going back and forth between these major hubs.
Correct. Yeah, and I would love that as someone who likes to go to Canada every now and then, and I kind of hate the drive. I would love the opportunity to just hop on a train, get there as quick as I can, and possibly even visit more than one city in Canada as well. I think it'll be a great connection right there. Don't have too much time, Mr. Golden, but I do want to ask you this last question. That's in regards to the West Bloomfield Railway history. If you could preserve or restore one aspect of West Bloomfield's railway history, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh, that's a terrific question. If it still existed, if the rails were still there and allowed people to not only come up from Detroit all the way into West Bloomfield Township and go even further, and go from West Bloomfield Township all the way into Pontiac. That would change the socioeconomic face of all of Southeast Michigan, bringing people to jobs and bringing jobs to people.
And goods and services as well. I completely agree with that. It makes the entire community grow economically, socially, culturally, and it ties into our history as well. I want to thank you so much again for that information, for that history, and more importantly, for your time. Once again, from Pastways Inc., historian Brian Golden. Thank you again, sir.
My pleasure, and have a great afternoon.